Infrastructure, April 28th, 2021. And we're convening at 7 p.m. via teleconference. As chairman of the Committee of Infrastructure, I find due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. To access Zoom, please refer to the agenda or the city's website for the meeting link. To join by phone, dial 1-929-205-6099. Meeting ID number 862-3738-3312 with a passcode of 99999. The public may also view the meeting via Channel 16. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for assessing the meeting through public postings. Instructions have also been provided on the City of Nashua's website at www.nashuanewhampshire.gov and publicly noticed in City Hall and Nashua Public Library. If anyone has a problem assessing the meeting via phone or Channel 16, please call 603-821-2049 and they will help you connect. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting via the methods mentioned above, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. So let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance when each member states their presence. Please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during the meeting, which is required under the right to know law. I will now call on Alderman Schmidt, clerk, to call the roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Alderman at Large, Michael B. O'Brien Sr.
I am present. I can hear the proceedings and I am alone.
Alderman Thomas Lopez.
I'm here. I can see everything.
And you're alone.
Yeah, I guess.
Alderman Jan Schmidt, I'm alone and can hear everyone. Alderman Ernest Jetty.
I'm here alone and I can hear the proceedings.
And Alderman David C. Tenza.
Alderman Tenza could not make it this evening. He had an out-of-town commitment.
That would be 4 members in attendance then, sir.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. Do we have anybody else in attendance?
We also have Alderman June Karen, Alderman Richard Dowd. And I think that's it for officials. We also have Dan Hudson, city engineer, Mike Buxton, assistant fire chief, and Steve Auger, project manager from Hayner and Swanson. Did I get everybody's name correct? I'm sorry.
I think we did. Any other alderman present that we didn't get? It is difficult. I'm sure the clerk will admit, trying to look at the screen and jot down notes.
Very small.
Oh, you're doing a fine job. Thank you. Okay. At this particular time, I'm going to open up the meeting to public comment. Raise your hand. Hopefully I can see everybody and I will recognize you so you can bring up your matter before the board. Does anybody would like to speak in public comment? I imagine Mr. Knapp, you would like to speak. Mr. Knapp, I will recognize you. Yes, sir. Please take yourself off mute.
Okay, I think I just did. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes, sir.
Very good. I want to thank Donna Graham for sending us the information that she said that she would from last night's meeting, and we really appreciate it. We did not know that we would have had a chance to express our views on that meeting when it was held. My wife and I were not prepared last night for the Zoom meeting, therefore did not express our thoughts totally on how inconvenience this number change would cause, not to mention confusion and costs for us for the next year, if not longer, by implementing a change of our numbered street address. An example, things like special documents, changing wills at a cost, Department of Motor Vehicle reissuing licenses at a cost, which I just got my star license, cost me $70. I just don't have that extra cost. Social Security, banks, hospitals, doctors, family, friends, my Veterans Administration and creditors, not to mention other legal fees that might apply. That's just to name a few of the changes that will take time and a lot of effort that my wife and I just don't want to do at this time. With that said, we're hoping that the city of Nashua and the Board of Aldermen will take notice and consideration on the decision so that we can maintain our present number that we've had for 43 years. We've already gone through an inconvenience already by the sale of this property and by having to move my belongings out of my garage where I don't know where I'm going to put it, for the builders to unattach their warehouse at 5 Berkshire Street so that they may make my garage safe and structurally sound. Please, we don't need other things to deal with. We are in our 70s. And as oddly as this may sound, my wife and I have gone through this exact situation back in the year with rental property that we were renting. And I'll tell you, it was not pretty. It took us over almost 2 years to finally get our records in order with creditors. So I would really like you to please think about the people that has planted their livelihood here and continue to do so. We really want to keep our number 7, please. And that's it. Thank you for listening.
Very good, Mr. Knapp. Well stated. Mr. Knapp, could you, for the record, please state your name and your lovely wife? I see her listening. You might as well give her a recognition. Can you state her name as well, too, for the
Yes, sir.
record, and your address, please?
Yes, sir. My name is Rick Knapp, 7 Berkshire Street, Nashua, and my wife beside me is Susan Knapp at 7 Berkshire Street, Nashua.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Knapp. Is there any other member from the public that has any items to bring up of interest to the board? My phone rang, excuse me. I hope that wasn't a member of the public trying to call. Let's go to the phones. Excuse me. Seeing nobody, I will close the session of public comment on that note. Communications.
From Stephen M. Buxton, Assistant Fire Chief, the Broad Street Parkway renaming.
Okay. Alderman Lopez, I'll get back to you shortly. Thank you.
Saw the opportunity, I took it.
Yeah, you did well. You did well. All right. There being no objection, I will accept the communication and place on file. Petitions.
Street renumbering petition, 5 Berkshire Street, sheet 61 B, lot 30, and sheet 61B, lot 29.
Mhm. I'm gonna recognize Mr. Steve Auger to go over the project and to show, but I'm going to take the liberty to make a motion prior to the discussion, and my motion will be that the property that is currently listed on the sheet 61B lot 30 and sheet 61B lot 29 will now be known as 5 and 9 Berkshire Streets. Okay, starting with the 5 in sequential with adjacent to number 3, then it'd be number 5 and then number 9. But basically the motion will be to rename said property from 5 to 5 and 9 Berkshire Street. Since I made the motion being chairman, I would look for a second. Do I have a second on that motion? Alderman Lopez has seconded. Thank you. Mr. Auger, could you now bring up the project, sir?
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Stephen Auger. I'm a project manager with Hayner Swanson, and our office is located at 3 Congress Street here in Nashua. What I can do now is I'd like to share my screen to show the subdivision plan so that everyone has a clearer picture of what we're talking about and where the site is.
Okay, please do.
Right, so I'm here tonight representing Forcier Contracting and Building Services. In the audience tonight, on behalf of Forcier Contracting, is Miss Jessica Forcier. As we did last night at the Board of Aldermen meeting, we are seeking to continue the address approval process for our 2-lot subdivision, which is located at 5 Berkshire Street. Quickly, just the history of this. Back in October, we appeared before the zoning board and we were granted 4 variances. It was on October 13th, 2020 to be exact. Each lot received a variance for lot width and for lot size. And then this past March 18th specifically, we appeared before the Nashua Planning Board to subdivide the lot into 2 tracts. During that, the plan approval process, the fire marshal's office made us aware that there was no address number left on the street in anticipation of a future subdivision. So with our entire tract here being 5 Berkshire Street, and then the tract to the right here being 3 Berkshire, and over here is where Mr. and Mrs. Knapp live, being 7 Berkshire Street. The fire department and the planning department informed us that we'd have to go through the address renumbering process, which is Board of Aldermen, Infrastructure Committee, and then back to the Board of Aldermen. And that was a condition of approval, as our plan was approved at the May 18th Planning Board. So as the Address Committee made their recommendations, they offered up 2 solutions. The first being to continue sequential numbering of 5 Berkshire. This new lot 29 would be 7 Berkshire, and then the Knapp's residence would change to 9 Berkshire. The Address Committee also offered the alternative, if the board is so inclined, to make new lot 30 to assign that 5 Berkshire, and then go out of order to make lot 29 9 Berkshire, and then leave the Knapp's residence at 7 Berkshire. I have discussed this with Mr. and Mrs. Forcier, and as I stated at the Board of Aldermen meeting last night, if our input is warranted, our preference would be to not inconvenience the Knapps and to go with the chairman's motion, where lot 30 would be 5 Berkshire, lot 29 would be 9 Berkshire, and the Knapps would keep their existing 7 Berkshire Street address. We certainly understand that in taking down this enormous storage building here, the Knapps are going to be inconvenienced in that manner. The Forciers have worked out an agreement with them to ensure the structural integrity of their garage once the storage building is separated from it. So like I said, the very last thing we want to do is cause the Knapps, the stress of changing their address, when they aren't moving. I'm sure everyone has changed their address at one point. It's a lengthy and in many cases irritable process. And the very last thing we want to do is put them through that. That certainly wasn't our intention at all. It's just kind of a quirk of the numbering system here that we're all here. So like I said, the Foresters are very much in favor of the alternative numbering system of 5 and 9 Berkshire Street on our lots. Like I said, we were approved at March 18th, Planning Board. The plan has yet to be recorded, as this, straightening out what our addresses will be is the final step before we can do that. If anyone on the committee has any questions for me or for Mrs. Forestier, we will be glad to answer them.
Oh, Mr. Auger, if I may, is it possible for you to bring up on the screen exhibit, what is by you, Exhibit A for 5 Berkshire Street, so that the committee members can see the particular site in relationship to the Knapp residents and how short the street is, what we're talking about? Is that possible, sir?
Yeah, are you talking about the GIS map I submitted, or I could?
It is a GIS map, yeah.
Well, let me offer you this first, Mr.
Or
Chairman.
do you have a map similar to what I would like, if you,
We would accept Google Maps.
yeah.
Yeah, it'll take me a minute to find it, but I think I can pull up what you're looking for. Hang on one second. Okay, I believe this is what you're looking for, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you. And I would, thank you. I would like the committee members to basically look, and if you could take your cursor and show where Amherst Street is there, and then show where Pine Hill Avenue is.
Yeah, so Amherst Street, I'm running my cursor along Amherst Street right here. Here's Berkshire where we access, and then Pine Hill is right here.
And
So
if
as
you,
you can see, Berkshire Street isn't very long.
right,
This right here is 3 Berkshire Street. 5 is the highlighted lot right here, and then the Knapps live right here at 7. And then I think this house here, I think this actually has a Pine Hill Ave address.
correct. And so there's a house on the corner of Amherst Street has an Amherst Street address.
Correct.
So basically what we're looking at is 3, 5, and 7. And so I want the committee members to note, by accepting going 5 and 9 at that location, it isn't clean sequential, but it's a very short street, and I think everybody should be able to figure out any type of emergency response. Thank you, sir, for that. Thank you. Is there any questions from any members of the committee to Mr. Auger? Yes, Alderman Lopez.
So this isn't the zoning board, so just so you know, this is just me happening to remember some things that I saw when I was over there. Are you guys doing any utility work in that road?
Yes, yeah, we will be for the 2 new houses. We're gonna have to put in water service connections, sewer service connections, and gas service connections.
Okay, because if I remember right, there were some really weird like heaves in the road that dumped water onto other people's property. So it might be something to be aware of. I can't give you details because I just remember walking there and thinking that Pine Hill Avenue was shaped weird, but just keep an eye out. You don't want to build a new project and have your driveway flood.
No, I mean, we'll, that's, our plans were reviewed by the engineering department, and, any utility work that we do, we're gonna patch the streets accordingly in terms with how the city of Nashua DPW, wants their streets and trench patches fixed.
Do you happen to know if there is something under there? You're saying that you need to run the utility work. Is there stuff for the houses around it that might be causing that?
I honestly have no idea if there are heaves or issues with the street. I'm unaware of what's causing that. I mean, it's from the few times I've been out there, it seems relatively flat. So I'm really not sure what exactly any issues are.
I don't know either. If it's an Indian graveyard, please make sure the new residents know.
Certainly.
I saw the movie, it didn't end well.
Thank you, Alderman Lopez. Alderman Jettie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, I guess I would like to, start by remembering that on this committee, we've dealt with these addressing issues a few times now. And for the public and for the NAPs, and I just wanted to explain that we do have an addressing committee that is charged with advising us about what, how numbers should be allocated. And as you, Mr. Chairman, have pointed out many times, Nashua is a relatively old city. So, we've got a lot of situations where, streets have similar names, like Berkshire Street and Berkshire Road, which can cause confusion. And a lot of numberings have, I grew up on 7.5 Harvard Street. And I know that, the use of halves and quarters and eighths have gone out of favor. And the use of letters, A, B, C, D are now reserved for accessory buildings. So that leaves a limited choice as to a situation like this, where you have a large lot, number 5, which is subdividable into 2 lots, and the planning board and zoning board have granted the variances and the approvals necessary to do that. So I understand that we've got a problem. We've got a lot with the number 5, and we're going to turn it into 2 lots. So how do we give a number to that extra house? I'm sure the developer really doesn't care, because as long as he gets a number for each house and he's able to build houses there and sell them, that's the developer's main interest. But they graciously have said they don't want to cause the NAPs any problem, and I'm sure no one wants to cause the NAPs problem. But I want the NAPs to understand that that the addressing committee, their first recommendation is that this renumbering, that 3 stays 3, the 2 lots on 5, the first one get 5, the second one gets 7, and you unfortunately get changed to 9. That's the initial recommendation for the addressing committee. And, that's not done to cause you any problem intentionally. The purpose of that is the whole purpose of the E911 system is to enable emergency personnel to arrive at an address that requires their intervention as quickly and expeditiously as possible. So, for example, if someone had at this new, if this motion passes, this new number 9, someone has an incident like a heart attack or something at that address, and emergency personnel are dispatched to number 9 Berkshire, there could be some, because it's not sequential, 3, 5, they look at they see number 3, they see number 5. Okay, the next one must be 7. And so the one after that must be 9. And that's unfortunately your house, not the one where the incident is occurring. So there could be some delay in rendering emergency assistance. So that's the reason that the addressing committee would prefer that you change your number to 9 so that it be sequential, and so that emergency personnel can can be dispatched as quickly as possible. And unfortunately, that causes you the hassle and that you've pointed out to us. You know, I recognize that you've been at this address and have had this one address for a long, long time. I grew up in Nashua, but over my personal and business life, I've had probably 15 different addresses, and my family, my creditors, my clients, everybody seems to have been able to find me, but I don't want to diminish, how you view this situation. This is not your doing. You're not the one that's subdividing property. And, but I'm just wondering if I could ask, Mr. Chairman, with your permission, if I could ask Mr. Auger or Auger, has his client approached the NAPS to try to assist them if they were to change their number to 9? Have your clients, tried to reach an agreement with them that would enable them to make this change with as little disruption as possible?
Mr. Auger, would you choose to respond?
I asked Mrs. Forcier to answer that.
Chair recognizes Mrs. Forcier.
Hi, I guess I'm not.
Excuse me, Mrs. Forcier.
Yes,
Excuse me. It's just a procedural, the way we do it.
yes.
Just give us your name and your address, please, and then you may speak. Thank you.
Yep. My name is Jessica Forcier. My address is 3 Chaucer Road in Nashua, with Forcier Contracting. I'm not really sure how we could assist. I mean, I guess I'm open for, examples of how we could assist in the address change. I don't really know what we would do on our end. I'm not sure how to answer, to be honest. If someone has a suggestion, I'm open to hear it, but I don't really know what we would do, how we could help that.
Could I respond, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So, for example, the NAPS have indicated that that this change is going to cause them some expense. They're going to have to pay to change their licenses to, they talked about different legal documents that they're going to have to pay to have changed. They talked about having to move stuff out of their garage. I'm assuming that they would hire a mover and put it into storage while the building is being renovated. So I guess I'm wondering if you've talked to them about whether or not financial assistance would make it easier for them to the point where they would agree that to change their number by agreement, understanding that in the end, if the numbers were sequential, 3, 5, 7, 9, that would make it easier for whoever ends up occupying the new number 7, and make it beneficial for the NAPS as well in case they have an emergency. And I don't know what their reaction to that would be. I'm just wondering whether that issue has been approached with them by you.
Thank you, Alderman Jettie. Any other member of the committee? Ms. Fossey, was that you trying to respond?
Yeah, I guess I'm
I will allow it, please, Ms. Fossey.
okay. Thank you. I'm still, I guess, not totally sure what to say, because we are actually have offered a lot already with the other meetings that we've gone through. So we have spoken to them, and we have offered, we're we're taking the side of their garage and their roof and matching things and making it secure better than what it probably is currently, especially since there's a building that goes on their lot that's not even their building. And we're okay with the numbers being the way that the NAPs would like them. So I just, I mean, and it kind of seemed also I hate that for some reason my video is not working, so you can't see my face, but I can see the NAPs, and I could see them shaking their head very, very sternly that they were not in agreement. So I just don't know how would we get through that barrier? I don't know. Like, I can kind of already see that it might be very difficult. So I mean, that's what I have to offer. I'm not really prepared to offer a number, and it doesn't really seem like the NAPs look like they're looking to accept a number either. So it kind of leaves me in a tough spot here.
Thank you, Ms. Fossier. Thank you, Alderman Jettie. Are you all set? Alderman Jettie, you're on mute.
Sorry, I don't know how that happened. I couldn't see the NAP's reaction, so I guess, maybe they could say, then, no, nothing would make them happy other than keeping their number.
If I may, Alderman Jettie, it is my hope, I think, in looking at the undertones, and I may be wrong, between the NAPs and the Fossiers, I would hope all good people of goodwill would have some form of negotiation and try to work things out prior to the gets to this level of this committee. This committee is not really a committee to really make a judgmental rule of such. So I would hope that it was all done in the past. What is the issue before us is people have the right to subdivide their property. And I think the NAPs do have a right to keep a number that they've been associated with part of their family and their family history for a very long time. And possibly at the end of the day, I don't think there's a solution for the NAPs. Yet at the same time, I don't want to eliminate any rights of the Fossiers to subdivide their lot legally. So unless you have something else, Alderman Jettie, I think, unfortunately, I too wish it would be nice to have a complete sequential of the street. I think in front of us is a good compromise that both parties seem to have agreed with.
Well, could I ask the NAPs to respond? I don't want to assume.
For your comfort, I will allow that, yes.
Thank
Mr. Knapp, would you like to respond to Alderman Jettie if you wish?
I'm trying to unmute. There we go. Okay. Somebody muted me. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we
I
can.
can hear you.
Okay. We're really not comfortable with what has been proposed by Jim Herring. And as far as the property being built down, Mrs. Forcier had stated that they've already came to an expense in order to make my garage safe. Well, this wasn't my idea to do what they're doing. And I understand that life goes on and things got to be taken in consideration, but I would really, really like to keep our number 7 and try to keep our lives going with the continuity that we have right now. And my wife and I, like I said, we're going to retire here, and she already has, and we just don't want to have anything to deal with at this time in our lives. That's all. I mean, we're comfortable with what we have. We've been here for such a long time. We're great with neighbors. As far as the expense goes, I'm not sure exactly what Mrs. Forcier was saying is an added expense, because I would think that, I don't know legally if we're responsible to put an end on our building, but the person who represented himself when he came here 3 times, he says that this whole thing would not cost us a penny. And we believe him in the truth of what he was saying. And I'm just not sure where all this is going. I thought for sure that since, like you were saying, Alderman, that this is such a short street that number 9, and with the GPS and the modern technology that we have today, I don't think that an emergency service would really be that intrusive as far as coming to a right number or not, if the houses were identified as such. All the houses are on Berkshire Street.
All right, thank you, Mr. Knapp. Alderman Lopez.
I think the public comment and the most recent comments by Mr. Knapp have made it abundantly clear he'd like to keep his number. I think we have a compromise to that effect. I would like to just call the question and move forward.
Yes. Yeah, why not? But Alderman Lopez, I do like, Alderman Jettie had the opportunity. I will recognize it, but I don't know if any other alderman would like to speak.
Yeah, I'm just sensitive to not necessarily driving a wedge.
Yeah, I would, and
between
I,
neighbors and
you
making
know,
this more
something I
accessible.
agree. I mean, like I say, the question before us is not the previous negotiation between the 2 parties. It's whether we can go with the address.
What's their number going to be?
Right. And that is what we need to focus on. So therefore, that being said, the address committee did look at this. We do have Assistant Chief Buxton. I will allow him to elaborate if the committee should so wish. But from the addressing committee, which is represented by Adam Pouliot, the fire marshal, Captain Thomas Bolton, Jr., Pan Andruskevich from GIS, Sarah Marchins, CCZ Director, Marshall Wilkins, City Planner, City Attorney Celia Leonard, Matt Sullivan, the Planning Manager. And they're all in unison to do what my motion is pending. And that being said, is there any other further discussion on my motion? Alderman Jettie.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm looking at the letter from the addressing committee. And the addressing committee says that it's the committee's recommendation to move forward in a way that will not create a non-compliant situation for future residents. We recommend that the Board of Aldermen consider renaming the street. Well, that's not germane now, but renumbering lot 61B-27 to 9. That's the Knapp's lot, numbering that to 9, and then assigning a new address of number 7 to 29 to lot 29, and 5 Berkshire to number 30. So that's their recommendation. They do say that if a non-compliant address is preferred, the committee would recommend the non-sequential as your motion represents. So, you know, they didn't recommend what your motion represents. They recommended that there be a sequential numbering. But if the committee is not going to do that, they're saying, you know, they would prefer the non-sequential numbering as opposed to assigning a letter or a fraction to the numbers. So yes, they did what your motion represents is their alternative. It's not their number one recommendation. And you know, since Assistant Chief Buxton is here, I don't know if he would comment about, you know, how the fire department feels about whether or not the number should be sequential or not.
Well, I will allow it, but we're spending an awful lot of time on this, Alderman Jettie. There is a pending motion. But since the Alderman, you have the right to ask questions, I will recognize Chief Buxton. Do you want to validate the non-compliant address that was preferred, a recommendation by the addressing committee from Representative Adam Poliot, the fire marshal.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Steve Buxton, the Assistant Chief National Fire. To answer Alderman Jetti's question, that is the recommendation from that committee. As the letter also states, the RSA puts the authority with the Board of Aldermen to assign addresses. They have the sole authority for street names and addresses. So we get paid to give recommendations at the end of the day. You obviously try to make everything follow into regulations. As Alderman O'Brien has pointed out several times, the city of Nashua has several streets that are much older than even Alderman O'Brien. But at this point in time, trying to change those and inconvenience our residents is not the intent of the committee. We just make the recommendation in the spirit of the regulations handed down from New Hampshire 911. I think the non-compliant address that resolution is a very good compromise for both the residents of the street. I don't think it's really realistic at this point in time for us to go through and rename Berkshire Street, which is the primary goal of the letter there. That's not going to get accomplished tonight or any time in the near future. So I think the compromise that we push forward is actually the best resolution for all involved.
Thank you, Chief Buxton. And thank you, Alderman Jettie. Alderman Lopez has made the motion to move the question without any further comment by any other alderman. I will call the question, and to remind everybody, I'm seeking final passage of this petition, and basically the main change will be 5 Berkshire Street, sheet 61B lot 30 and sheet 61B lot 29 will come to be now known as 5 to 9 Berkshire Street. Seeing no other further questions,
I have a point of
Alderman
order.
Lopez. Yes,
Just wanna make
discussion
sure,
on the
are-
motion. Yes.
Are we doing 3 votes here? Are we gonna vote to call the question, then vote to amend, then vote for the thing, or?
I think we could do it in one. I made the motion and adapt it because the petition basically just leaves it to us to recommend. So we made the recommendation to allow 5 and 9 Berkshire. And if there is any problems, it will be brought up to the board. Alderman Dowd, maybe you might have some.
Yeah, just to clarify, if there was a motion to move the question, you couldn't have had that other discussion that you had. So
Oh,
I would ignore
Just
that
call
as
that
a
a request.
motion.
I
I would ignore that as a motion and act on, and there also was no motion to make the numbering anything other than what you suggested in your motion, 5 and 9. So there's no amendment.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
very
Okay.
good. Thank you to our parliamentarians. Thank you so much. Okay, I will call the question. Will the clerk please call the roll?
I will. Thank you. Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt says yes, and Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Thank you. That's 4 yeas and 0 nays.
Okay, motion carries. And I thank you all for your input. Thank you. Unfinished business,
We have none.
new business resolutions,
Also none.
new business ordinances.
Authorizing a right turn only lane on Amherst Street to Cotton Road Connector. Mr. Chairman, I recommend final passage by roll call.
Very good. The chair will recognize Alderman Dowd, would you seem to be the prime sponsor? Would you like to speak to this?
Yes, and I'm going to share my, as soon as I move this over, I'm going to share my screen as I have a presentation and just a couple slides to explain what we're doing. Bear with me. Oops, I'm going to share my screen first. Share a screen. And do we want this one? Okay. Are you seeing the one with the,
Amos Street intersection problem?
yeah, it's not the one I wanted to show, but I think this one will work. Okay, right now we have an issue on Amos Street near the pressed sandwich shop across from the mall. And what happens is you have 3 lanes coming into, that's Cotton, I believe. And you have 3 lanes coming in, and it's supposed to be, this lane is supposed to merge with the middle lane way back here, but people don't even see the sign. So I want to show that in more detail. So what happens is people that are in this lane right here, all of a sudden see that there's no lane on the other side, and they try to merge, and it causes issues, traffic issues. Now, in the last week, I've seen 2 18-wheelers come over here and try to merge, and it causes the cars in the middle lane to go over to the other lane. One of these days, we're going to have a heck of an accident there. So we've put fixing this off until better weather than the winter. So, I think it went by. So here's the proposal. We want to make this a right turn only lane. And as such, like there are in other intersections in, for instance, the one right down the street next to the Volkswagen garage, we want to put make this a right turn only lane from way back here. We want 2 signs. There's one already, but there should be a second sign that says merge left. And you want the arrows to show that, hey, this lane is only for right-hand turns, so that people would come in here. Also, there's 3 lights here, and the light here needs to be moved over, and like on Sharon Avenue, it needs to be a right turn green only light. And I'll let the timing be worked out by DPW and the city engineer, Dan. But these 2 lanes can then proceed smoothly, and you won't have the merging. Now, there is a bus stop over here, but the buses are going to be smart enough to go over to pick up their passengers. This lane on this side is not a car length wide. And all of a sudden, the cars are forced over into the middle lane if we don't do this. So the motion is to authorize that this be a right turn only lane. And my suggestion to DPW is they add an additional sign, like the one that's way back here somewhere. They put the arrows on the street, and they move this light over a little bit on the pole and make it an arrow light indicating that lane over here is a right turn only. So if there are any questions, or if the city engineer has any questions or statements, this would be the time. Jim.
Yeah, Alderman Dowd, with your, I think it'd probably be best if Mr. Hudson would like to speak, and then we can open up to questions. Is that okay
Yep.
with you, Alderman Dowd?
That's fine, yep.
Outstanding. Mr. Hudson, would you like to comment on the matter, please?
Sure, it'd be my pleasure. Dan Hudson, city engineer. So I can confirm Alderman Dowd's assessment of the situation. There's a merge that currently occurs across the intersection, which is in a gray configuration. Over time, we have tried to make it better by doing some different striping and different signage, but it remains problematic. So we support this proposal to make this, rightmost lane, or a right turn lane, a dedicated right turn lane. and we'll sign it and put the appropriate pavement markings to make sure that happens.
Okay, I will, thank you, Mr. Hudson. I'll open up to any questions by any members of the committee. And with this up on the screen, I can't see everybody. So,
No, I
Yeah.
take this down.
oh, thank you, Alderman Dowd. I'll open this up for questions from the committee. I do have two. I'll recognize the clerk, Jan Schmidt, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next time I'll do ducks too. This is brilliant. This is absolutely brilliant. Thank you for bringing this up. I have been almost creamed almost every time I come through there. If it's not an 18-wheeler, it's somebody who's trying to do 90 to get in front of everybody at the light, and it's just insane. This is a great idea. Thank you so much. Yes, please do it as soon as possible.
Very good. Thank you, Alderman Schmidt. Alderman Lopez.
Follow up to Alderman Schmidt's comments. My standard question for DPW, did you already do it?
No, they didn't.
No, we didn't. No.
There aren't any stop signs that were already installed. I just like to know what my options are.
No, we haven't done anything yet, but we will make effort to do that as soon as we can.
Thank you. Any other questions by members of the committee? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt says yes, Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
That would be 4 yeas and 0 nays.
Motion carries. Madam Clerk.
No parking on certain times and a no on-street student drop-off or pickup on sections of Cleveland Street. Mr. Chairman, I'd recommend final passage by roll call.
And again, the chair will recognize Alderman Dowd as the primary sponsor.
Okay, and let me just get back here to share my screen. And we want to share. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right, it worked better this time. Okay, so as everyone knows that we're in the middle of middle school construction project. We're getting very, very close to completion of the fairgrounds portion of the middle school project. It will be wrapped up this summer. And some things that we found along the way. And one is that, let me get over here. Okay. First of all, I wanted to share this picture because I don't know how many people have seen us, the top of the roof, since we installed all of these solar panels. And there are a lot of them generating a lot of electricity. Just so you get re-familiar, this used to be where everybody went, up in this access here. Now it is only the bus loop. Only the buses go in here and drop off at the new front portion of the school, which is further along than actually this picture says. And the parent drop-off loop is over here. It's a new access road, new parking, and the parents come around here and drop their kids off and then exit. Sometimes there are more parents, especially in the morning, waiting to drop off than this whole queue can handle. So during school hours, we want to have, I couldn't remember if there are 4 or 5 parking spots that are going to be striped for no parking from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on school days only. And the signage, the blue signs, well, the no parking in this area during school hours, those are the 2 yellow signs. The blue signs, the blue circles, that is no student drop off in those areas. And the reason being is they want the parents to drop the students off here. They don't want children walking through the traffic. It's a safety issue, especially over here on Cleveland Street. There are 2 schools the middle school and the elementary school. In the morning and the afternoon, there's a lot of traffic on that road. And we don't want middle school students crossing against the traffic. So that's a safety issue. And the only amendment, I'm going to make an amendment in a minute to the motion to allow parking in this area during elections. So usually a lot of times during the election, there's no classes in the school at the time, so it wouldn't be a problem. But if there is classes going on during election, we've worked things out with administration of the school to allow parking here, and they'll handle the traffic. Okay, as far as any inconveniences parking, this is the handicap parking, handicap playground right here. And it's hard to notice, but we have provided several handicap spots on either side here for people that want to use the playground. So they don't have to park on Cleveland Street. They can park here, which is even closer to get into the playground. Just while I'm here, a few of the things that we've done, of course, the whole parking lot is all new. All parking in the back is new. And right now there are 2 portable classrooms back here, which will disappear once we're done with our project. They're only temporary. And this road has been built around and leveled out so that fire trucks and police vehicles can use this road successfully. I'm sure that Assistant Chief Buxton will appreciate that a ladder truck can now put down its pneumatic stabilized arms and to access the school.
Outriggers, we call them outriggers.
Outriggers. So particularly with the solar on the roof. But anyway, so the legislation is to no parking at certain times and no on-street student drop-off and pickup on sections of Cleveland Street as shown. Before we vote on that, I would like to make an amendment to 021060 as in a discussion with Alderman Clements. That had to do with the parking during elections. So I will make a motion that that the only change to the motion would be no parking at certain times and no on-street student drop-off or pickup up on sections of Cleveland Street. And after the word no parking at certain times, we would add except on the days of election, city election. So that would be the amendment.
Yeah, thank you. Alderman Dowd, on days of the election, each ward does have a moderator, and he could basically assist in supervising of that. So it's really not a problem to allow people on election day to park there, correct?
School staff would also help in making sure the cars can get into the parent drop-off more easily.
Very good. Thank you, Alderman Dowd. Mr. Hudson, are you here also to speak on this? I would recognize you if you are.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Dan Hudson, City Engineer. Only here to support the proposal. This is in response to, improve operations at the school under its revised configuration, so we support it.
Okay. I will open up to questions from Alderman. I see we have Alderman Jettie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for clarification, Alderman Dowd, you said city elections. Do you really mean that, or would it be all?
Well,
elections?
it's more important on national elections, but I meant other than like school elections or something like that. I meant municipal or national elections.
Okay, so you did not mean to insert the word city.
Yeah, we'll just
I
make
think
it.
if we just left it as elections, obviously we're talking, well, I don't know if it's obvious or not, but we're talking about city, state, and federal elections.
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions by members of the committee? All right. Seeing none. What we have before us is an amendment, which basically would be to insert south side 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. school days, except the part that would be added, except on days when elections are scheduled. Will the clerk please call the roll on the amendment?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt says yes, Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
That would be 4-0.
Thank you. Now we have before us the main ordinance O-21-061 as amended. Any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt says yes, Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
That would be 4 again with 0 against.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. And just as a real quick update, we are turning over a fair portion of the school after school vacation. It's actually this week. This middle rotunda area has all been completed, as are some of the rooms in the CTE section. And we'll be starting on the complete renovation of the gymnasium soon, finishing up the admin area, the new entrance. If you ride by, you'll see that it's much prettier than it is right there. And then all the landscaping and final paving and everything. So that's an update.
Well done.
Very good. All right. Now, moving on, we'll go to items that have been taken, that have been tabled. And if you do remember at the last meeting, we did table R-21-121 to be brought forward at the next meeting of the Committee of Infrastructure, pending a report from a blue ribbon committee, for lack of a better term, to come up with negotiations on changing the name of the Broad Street Parkway. Madam Clerk, do I have a motion to take?
I would move to take from the table Resolution 21-121 by roll call.
Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt says yes, Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
That would be 4-0.
Thank you. I would like to, trying to think of the right way to kind of do this. I would like to recognize Alderman Karen because she is the lead sponsor of this. But I think it would be fair at this point if Alderman Karen, if you don't mind, that if we probably put Assistant Chief Buxton of the National Fire Rescue on the hot seat to give us an update on some of the changes of that committee that were made. Are you in agreement, Alderman Karen?
Yes, I have no problem with that, Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you. I will now call on Assistant Chief Steve Buxton of NFR, please.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So before you have the communication in your packet from the committee that was formed, there's representatives that were appointed by the chairman to participate in the committee. They had one meeting where they were able to come to a resolution that all were in favor of. PD was unable to be present at the meeting, but we briefed them after and they were in full agreement of it. Basically, as everybody knows, we're trying to avoid a name conflict that would create confusion for people not necessarily the responders, but also the people calling to report in an emergency. So the proposal that the committee brought forward is to rename the Broad Street Parkway to the Veterans Memorial Parkway. They felt it would be important to place appropriate sized signs on the bridge, making sure that people were able to identify that they're on the Veterans Memorial Parkway Bridge. They also thought forward enough to think to request signs to be placed on the Veterans and the Taylor's Falls Bridge to make sure there was no confusion over there. Those bridges, of course, go over to Hudson. And then the final conflict we had to resolve to be able to achieve the renaming of the Broad Street Parkway would be to change the name of Veterans Drive to Independence Drive. As you heard me state earlier, the renaming of streets and such, the authority for that through the RSA lies with the Board of Aldermen. But the chairman had charged the committee with coming up with suggestions that we found suitable to meet everybody's needs. And we think that this is the best compromise to move forward with to avoid any issues. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you, Chief Buxton. I would like to thank you and members of your committee and their due diligence on this matter. I think you did a yeoman's job. And I would be correct in assuming what we basically have done here is taken that was before us, two basic resolutions, and combined them now into a new resolution. Because one was separate of the Veterans Drive and Independence, which will now be tagged into this one resolution. So that was the advice of the committee, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that would be correct. One of the resolutions created a problem that we needed to address with the other suggestion that were brought forward to solve the other resolution, so.
Okay. Mr. Hudson, do you have anything you would like to weigh in on this as well?
Public Works was part of that committee, and so we support this change and we're ready to order the signs. So I think it's a good solution.
Okay. All right, very good. So now I think we provided, and again, thank you all for that committee work. Like I said, great job. I would like to now recognize the lead sponsor of this, June Karen, Alderman June Karen, excuse me. Alderman Karen, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. When we spoke a couple of weeks ago, there was some confusion because Armory and Amory streets were similar, and your suggestion to have police, fire, and BPW get together to come up with a compromise, I thought was a great idea. And the name that they came up with to change Veterans Drive to Independence Drive, I am full in support of that. So I have no problem with it. And I'm glad that we're still moving forward to naming the Broad Street Parkway Veterans Memorial Parkway. So I have no conflict or confusion concerning this. And I too would like to thank the committee for getting this done in a quick turnover. Thank you.
Alderman Lopez, I see that you're second in the sponsorship of this. Would you like to speak?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that I was in favor of it too. Although I do defer to Alderman Karen as the senior ranking alderman. I just think that it's important that we take the step forward to recognize our veterans, particularly on that stretch, because that veterans, the Parkway has become a great opportunity to put memorial signs of veterans up to celebrate Veterans Day. So I think it's a meaningful gesture. I think it will be well received. And I also really like the use of Independence Drive instead of Armory, because I had brought that up to them a long time ago and everybody thought it would be fine. So I like being right, but I like better ideas too.
Very good. I will now call on my clerk to make a motion, and then we'll open up discussion on the motion. So will the clerk like to make a motion, please?
For Resolution 21-R21, changing the name of Veterans Drive to Armory Drive and changing the name of Broad Street Parkway to Veterans Parkway. I would move to recommend final passage as amended by roll call.
All right, thank you to the clerk. Any discussion by any alderman on the subject? Alderman Jettie?
So I heard Alderman Schmidt say Veterans Parkway. Is it going to be Veterans Memorial Parkway? Are we-
Yes, Alderman Schmidt did read, and it's on mine as well, but I think it's clearly let me give you the title that I'm reading off the resolution, changing the name of Veterans Drive to Independence Drive and changes in the name of the Broad Street Parkway to Veterans Memorial Parkway. So I'm sure it was a typo on the preparation of what we're following. Yes, so you would be correct in assuming the true title will be Veterans Memorial Parkway.
Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
No, very well pointed. Thank you. Any other further discussion? Okay, seeing none. Can the clerk call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt says yes, Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
4 yeas and 0 nays.
Okay, motion carries as amended. Okay. Seeing nothing else, that is coming off. Did I particularly see? Does the clerk see anything? No. No.
I see
Miss-
something further down about ordinance 21-056.
Your parliamentarian's gonna tell you that you gotta dispose of that other resolution. Take it off the table and then send it to indefinite postponement because as I understand it, you don't need it, right?
Yeah.
So you have to take it off of the record. So it has to be brought back on the table and then a motion for indefinite postponement.
Yes.
Mis-
Alderman,
Mr. Chair.
you are really doing a great job as Papa. Yes, Mr. Hudson, I see you waving, sir.
Mr. Chair, I may be misunderstanding, but I believe the ordinance item is other sections of the ordinance that refer to the renamed streets. So I don't believe that should be removed. I believe that should be also recommended.
Okay, so your interpretation of 2156. See, that was
Yeah, it's sections of the ordinance that make reference to those street name signs need to be updated to
okay,
reflect the new
that's
street names.
okay. Thank you for that clarification. That being said,
So you do need it.
we do need it. Yes. Thank you. And so with that being said, on 2156, will the clerk like to make a motion?
Yes, I move to take this off the table by roll call.
Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt says yes, Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
4 yeas and 0 nays. It's
Okay,
off the
motion
table.
To remove 2156 off the table. And does the clerk like to make a motion to the committee?
I would move to recommend final passage as amended of 21-056 by roll call.
Very good. So it seems, Mr. Hudson, can you just when we transcribe this, could you just go over to what you explained of what the
Sure.
intentions and what?
Sure, Mr. Chair,
Thank
I'd be happy to. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Dan Hudson, City Engineer. So the new resolution you just recommended there renames the streets as indicated. So there are sections of the ordinance that make reference to those names. And that's highlighted in the amended copy here, but for example, it's talking about an intersection at Broad Street at Veterans, well, what will be now Veterans Memorial Parkway, where it used to be. Broad Street Parkway. So, so there's various sections of ordinance that need to be amended, and that's what this this does, is amends all those such references.
Thank you, Mr. Hudson. And while you were explaining that, I was diving through my ordinances here, and that's exactly the way you said it. So thank you for putting the plug in the gap there. Okay, thank you. I'll open it up to any questions by members of the committee. Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt says yes, and Alderman Jettie,
Yes.
4 yeas.
Motion carries as amended. Outstanding, folks. Okay, general discussion. Very good. Quiet group. Public comment. Is there anybody from the public who would like to comment? Seeing none. Remarks from the alderman. Seeing none. There's no need for a non-public session. Madam Clerk, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Wednesday, April 28th, 2021 meeting of the Infrastructure Committee be adjourned by roll call.
Very good. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Schmidt says yes, and Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
That would be 4 yeas and 0 nays.
Okay, motion carries. And I would like to personally thank everybody. We did a great job tonight. We had a lot on our plate, and I thank you all for your input. I will declare the meeting closed at 8:17 p.m. Thank you. Good night,
Parkway, we need
everybody.
time for Memorial Day.